And now, our feature presentation.
Welcome. Open your mind, your body, and your soul. Immerse yourself as you drift deeper into the sound. Here is your guide for this journey.
Time move in XRP today, basically the parent company of Ripple. The crypto shooting higher after blockchain startup got an eye-popping valuation. Kate Rooney is out in San Francisco with the details. And when they sent me the story, I said, well, Kate screwed up. That can't be, billion. It's got to be million. What is this?
Ryan, you're reading it right. Announced a $200 million funding round today, and that money is not in cryptocurrency. The new cash injection brings Ripple's valuation to $10 billion, making it one of the most valuable private startups in Silicon Valley. Ripple's main business is a cross-border payment system built on blockchain that's used to send money around the world. The startup says it now has 300 customers globally and inked deals with MoneyGram, Santander, and American Express. Brian.
That's a good story. It's a big one. Kate Rooney out in San Francisco. Thank you very much. So let's put that $10 billion valuation into perspective, shall we, gentlemen?
Let's do it.
It is bigger than the market caps of Bed Bath & Beyond, Whirlpool, and Planet Fitness. So does Ripple really belong in the $10 billion club, Guy Dummy?
I don't think so, but this is not my skating rink. This is not my
fort.
Oval. It's not my forte.
It's fort. It's actually.
But I mean, the market decides that. I don't decide that. So if the market, as they said, remember the movie Coming to America? It's Mama named him Clay, I'm calling him Clay. Well, if it's worth $10 billion to them, it's worth $10 billion to me. Does that make sense?
In every generation, one is chosen to enter a dimension very few have experienced. This is a time where mystery knocks at your door and desires to be known and revealed.
So we kind of found ourselves in this situation where if we wanted institutions to settle their international payments with a digital asset, we first had to rebuild the payment messaging, sort of the plumbing. And we discovered something interesting on the way. What we discovered was that the existing plumbing was so bad, I mean, it dates back to batch computing days, that just improving that messaging was a product. That was something that banks and non-bank financial institutions would be interested in.
The citizens of Athens wrote to Alexander, King of Macedonia, the new hegemon of the League of Corinth. We praise you and congratulate you. We will stand by you as you are the defender of freedom, always.
We all need a sparkle on the horizon to keep us breathing.
Is there some of this, Carter, and in all seriousness, where you see these kind of valuations? Listen, I don't understand. Somebody understands something that I don't understand or we don't understand. But you're seeing so much money thrown at these companies, then you look at Uber and all these others that are having trouble. What does it tell you about a macro market?
It's the nature of something that's unknown and new. The dream can sort of be big, right? And then at some point the child is grown and the dream is gone.
Well, is this personal? You want to get on a couch?
No, that's Pink Floyd.
I know, yeah.
Right. But the point is that that's the nature of anything that's unknown. You can put any valuation on it, right? And that's what people do. But when it has to prove itself, things can go very badly.
Just look, the cryptocurrency, especially as you get into second and third term, because this has been 21 days to Sunday, the institutional representation in this investment is important, and it's actually very impressive.
All right, there's a rising call for the creation of an alternative to the U.S. dollar in the form of a new world currency. Bloomberg columnist Kevin Hassett refers to the dollar as the Mickey Mouse currency.
Why we might want to have one world currency, and there's some pretty good arguments. I could see us moving towards, as a global financial system, having an alternative to the dollar be the sort of primary unit of account. And Keynes called for this long ago, right before the Bretton Woods conference. And it looks like there are a lot of people, including Joe Stiglitz, including the Chinese and the Russians, trying to move in that direction. So I think it's something that really could happen. It's something we need to pay attention to.
But something that would take a long time, right, Kevin?
No, it wouldn't really, because right now what's going on is that developing countries in particular feel like in order to prove to the world that they have the liquidity they need to be stable, that they need to hold a lot of dollars. And if they en masse all decide to hold some other thing, perhaps something issued by the International Monetary Fund, then they could move all that dollar demand to demand for another type of currency. And then once they did that, then it could be that you're going to have a bandwagon effect, and a lot of other countries, including Europe and the U.S., might eventually have to play along.
Can I don't don't know if you've come across this, Kevin, but some large religions may have a problem with one world currency.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. But, you know, there are a lot of things that are wrong about the current system and things that Stiglitz has pointed out. So, for example, since the developing world has to hold a lot of dollars in order to prove that they have liquidity, then basically what they're doing is making interest-free loans to the United States. And that's not really just to have the poorest countries on earth, you know, pouring resources to the United States in order to hold dollars. Whereas if something like the International Monetary Fund issued a currency, then maybe those profits from producing the currency that people need to hold in reserve could go back towards the developing world. Right. So right now, if everybody were to abandon the dollar, then that might be a problem for the value of all of China's assets that are in dollars. But I think that a kind of orderly progression towards using other reserve currencies, maybe the creation of one by the IMF, is something that, whether the U.S. likes it or not, I believe is likely to happen. And so you need to start to think about what's going to happen if the developing world coalesces.
The enemy stands between us and our home. We will triumph or die. Retreat is impossible. Don't be blinded by the glamour and size of our enemy. I see what you see, but none of you can see it with my eyes. The great king underestimates us. Be brave, because this is not the first time we have faced superior numbers, and it will not be the last time. We will triumph!
So we kind of found ourselves in this situation where if we wanted institutions to settle their international payments with a digital asset, we first had to rebuild the payment messaging, sort of the plumbing. And we discovered something interesting on the way. What we discovered was that the existing plumbing was so bad, I mean it dates back to batch computing days, that just improving that messaging was a product. That was something that banks and non-bank financial institutions would be interested in.
I see, first of all, the benefits of the new technologies that are underlying bitcoins or other virtual currencies, so this distributed ledger technology. It's something which can also have very interesting use. Let's say, I also see the point that international payments sometimes, especially, remain, although in the European Union, in the euro area, we have brought the cost down basically to zero of cross-border transactions, but still, if you have payments internationally, they remain quite expensive. So I see also the benefits of having a sort of payments instrument that can be deployed globally at very low cost.
Also, I think it's not the problem of the use cases. I think we simply have to recognize we are in the early stage of a technology. It simply takes time. We have to be patient to do things. If you know the realities of a bank or a corporation, to create any meaningful process, you need is a big effort. So 2019, especially in the banks, is the area of the proof of concepts and the pilots. And they're doing a lot of it. They just not always talk about it. And then, let's say if you are in the reality of a corporation, then you have your budget process. So probably this year, for the next year, you get into the budget, the larger rollout. And in 2021 and 2022, we probably see it in a bigger scale in action. So we have to be simply patient. Also, many of the ideas, they touch, of course, regulation. Now, anybody who has tried to get a license for anything that is regulated, it's a 1 to 1.5 year process. And so I just say, I think there are a lot of use cases out there. Maybe they are not properly communicated, but it takes time and effort to realize them. And I think we will very soon see the uses for it, like saying the supply chain management, others where it's easier. And then the larger scale uses where financial institutions are involved, they simply will take a few more months or 12 months so that it comes to some bigger reality.
But there are no two suns in the sky. And there can't be two kings ruling Persia. So far, we've only liberated territories the Persians had conquered. Now we are on their territory, and we will conquer them.
Let's surprise them and start the attack tonight.
That would be cowardly. I don't want to steal the victory. I want to fight honorably. Eye for an eye at dawn!
Turning to payment systems, innovation in payments could bring significant benefits to users, including lower costs and faster processing times. At the same time, the ability to transact safely and smoothly is critical to financial stability. And the FPC considers that the current payments framework will need to be adjusted to accommodate new innovation along the following principles. Regulation of payments should reflect the financial stability risk rather than the legal form of payment activities. Secondly, the systemic importance of any single firm should be informed by whether its failure could disrupt one or more end-to-end systemic payment chains. And thirdly, all firms above a certain threshold carrying out the activities that make up a payment chain should provide sufficient information to support the identification of systemically important payments firms as they emerge. Stablecoin-based payment chains, such as Libra, pose additional issues for regulation. Payment chains that use stablecoins should be regulated to standards equivalent to those applied to traditional payment chains. Where stablecoins are used in systemic payment chains as money-like instruments, they should meet standards equivalent to those expected of commercial bank money in relation to stability of value, robustness of legal claim, and the ability to redeem at par in fiat currency. To conclude, as the latest stress test indicates, the core of the UK financial system would be resilient to the crystallization of a number of current risks, ranging from abrupt changes to trading relationships, sharp movements in asset prices, and deep economic downturns. Such near-term preparedness is an essential part of the FPC's job, but it's only an element of its responsibilities. We're also working to improve the structural resilience of the banking sector while increasing its responsiveness and resolvability by reforming bank capital standards. We're continuing our mortgage measures in order to provide insurance against the encroachment of irresponsible lending standards that have in the past contributed to painful recessions. And we're supporting efforts to replace LIBOR, to reform open-ended funds, and to oversee new payment systems in order to ensure that more sustainable and resilient productive finance is widely and reliably available.
Has huge brand recognition, and so we talked about how we are investing in the brand, and one of the key things, and we did the kind of White House we're walking, one of the things we did to talk about that is how the brand of any company is really at the heart, and it's a reflection of the products they build, and the products you build are a reflection of the people you employ, and we know that grace was spelled wrong. And really, great people are a reflection of a great culture. And so we talked about how we've thought about as a company investing in building a better culture, investing in our people, and that ends up building better products, and that'll reflect in the brand. That takes time, obviously, but it's something we're starting to see more and more of the pixels we launch as a company. We then talked about kind of some major changes, moving into the Palo Alto office, the Thing Labs, Grizzly joining the team here, our work on Phoenix, which continues to be in kind of alpha/beta.
life-changing.
There is a fifth dimension, beyond that which is known to man. It is a dimension that is vast as space. And timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow.
There can be no mistakes this time.
Between science and superstition. It lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. It is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call the Twilight Zone.
I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the universe.